43 practices, the virtual assistant answers every single phone call that comes in and triages. I'm using AI to automate AI.
Yes.
Right. I'm Dave Drzwicki.
Hey, I'm Steve Rolle.
I'm the CEO of Absolute Dental here in Las Vegas.
Your role now has changed. You're 50% AI
Correct.
and still CEO of the company.
Correct.
How fast from idea for the website to the website being live using Lovable?
My last one was an hour.
AI slop. Everyone's talking about, I
Totally.
don't want your AI slop.
Totally.
We need to stop AI slop in the company.
Anyone can go build an app, but can they market it? Can they make it trustworthy? Can they sell it? Do I have a competitive edge? And how long will that competitive edge last?
You've been a CEO for
Almost a decade.
Okay.
Here locally in Vegas. I've been at 10 years with this organization, so I've been CEO for 8 years.
You have the CEO background. You know the parts of the business and how those components all work together. But now you're arguably on the product side of the house, building all these products, but you know what the missing pieces are. A lot of people can build the products and they don't know how to market it. They don't know how to hire people to market it or go do sales for it either. They don't even know what's missing. They think I built it. Okay, like what now? Where do I go and get all this stuff happening? But you have that background to know the pieces of the business. And so I think, okay, you are an architect. Also, of course, you knew the code.
Ultimately,
but
I'm a builder.
You know how to move the pieces around the board.
Ultimately, I'm a
Business
builder.
operator.
That's what I realized through this process. I love building.
And you come from a private equity background.
Most of it was with private equity. And that really helped me get a different lens. How do you spend dollars on tools and technology that gets, better customer or service, reduces friction, better patient experience, customer experience, whatever it is, but also improves the company itself. But yeah, technology, I haven't touched technology in, I'll say 20 years.
Yeah.
And so then I get into this now. It's like I'm sitting in my office, in my home office in 2000 all over again. I haven't had this much prolific output probably in 25 years.
Your role now has changed. You're 50% AI.
Correct.
And still CEO of the company.
Correct.
But putting focus on where the cutting edge is and for the future. But a part of that has you playing with all different types of AI tools right now. I want you to tell us about the journey you've been on, where it started and where it's at today, and what you've seen by putting 50% of your time into AI as a CEO.
So I started putting 50% of my time into AI as a CEO literally in the month of March. So let me rewind from there, and then I'll give you kind of the month of March, because the month of March is the aha moment. It's the limitless moment. But what I would say is about 18 months ago, when AI was starting to come out and they were starting to talk about ChatGPT and what is it and this kind of a thing, got involved with that, started looking at it, started understanding, playing with it, using it as a glorified search, that type of thing. Reconnected with a friend of mine who was a fellow programmer back in the day of distribution. He worked for Accenture, a big firm, and was working with some newer technology and such. And we just started talking. And I said, it would be great if we were talking about business challenges. And he said, what's one of your number one business challenges right now? I said, well, turnover at the front desk is like 100%. It's a job that people don't want. It's very demanding. You have to multitask on everything. And frankly, it's a hard job to keep people employed. And because of that, the phone doesn't get answered. So as simple as it is in the dental practice, when the phone doesn't get answered, the schedule doesn't get filled, production doesn't happen, et cetera, et cetera. And so we were just chatting and we came up with the idea of let's go create a virtual assistant where every phone call is answered by AI and it triages why the patient's calling. Fast forward, we hired him as a consultant. He came in and with Google toolset at that time, he was the mad scientist. He went through his limitless moment then and spent probably 4 months straight building out this virtual assistant to the point where we went from 1 practice to 5 practices to 10 practices. And he worked with an office manager and figured it all out. And it answered every phone call. And he developed that technology.
So you don't have anyone answering the phones.
Fast forward to today, 43 practices, the virtual assistant answers every single phone call that comes in and triages what they're calling and schedules for them in live into our traditional practice management system.
That's awesome.
So that was how we got into this. That's when I realized, wow, there's something here. Anything is possible. And he and I always joke, and we still joke to this day, that was the art of the possible. We were pressing the bleeding edge of what's possible. After we accomplished that, what's next? And then that's where I said, I started dangling with the idea of this is real. I need to get more of my time into it. So fast forward to March, that's when everything kind of went crazy.
So what did you start playing with in March that you'd never touched before? Like what blew your mind?
I would say what blew my mind, there's so many things. Putting your head around it is crazy. I would say Lovable, number one. And I don't get paid by Lovable, and I don't.
It's not a plug for Lovable. It's lovable.ai is what this is.
Lovable.ai.
Okay.
You literally paste into it what you want to build. It's the advertisement of put one prompt and it builds your website or app, right? And I have built. I'm going through this crazy process right now. It's addictive. I'm walking in the morning. I get an idea. I go buy a domain as I'm walking. I take that domain. I go back to my office. I write a couple prompts with ChatGPT. I build out a business idea. I plug in the name of the domain. It builds out this long business outline of everything that it could or should do, rationalizes the idea of the business. I don't even read it. Because you have to give context to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It has to understand it to iterate on itself. That's one thing I've learned in the last 6 months. As it reads and understands itself or the scope of what it could do, then I say, make me a master prompt for Lovable. And it usually comes in 4, 5, 6, 10 different buckets. And I go into Lovable and execute these 10 different prompts in a row. You have a fully functional product.
How fast from idea for the website to the website being live using Lovable are we talking?
My last one was an hour.
An hour. From walking and thinking about it to it's live.
Correct. My first one was probably, 10 hours of effort pieced together over days or weeks of work because I was feeling my way through it.
Yeah.
But literally a couple days ago, I was saying to myself, my process today is I'm walking. I have an idea. I want to lose it. I'm 50 some years old now. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
I go into Notepad on my phone. I type in the idea and I close it back up and keep walking.
Yeah.
And then when I go back to my house or whatever my process is, then I pull it out and I figure out on my to-do list where it ranks and what I'm going to do with it, et cetera. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I'm walking and I said, that process is so inefficient. How can I make it more efficient? So I come up with, I talk to ChatGPT. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to do it, how I think it could work. Now I literally I built yesterday an app on my phone, that's on my phone right now, that as I'm walking, I pull it up, I hit the capture voice prompt. I say, hey, I'm thinking I want to add a feature to Snipe Scout to do A, B, or C. I press the button. It triages what I said. It categorizes the project that I'm working on. It creates the AI prompt for Lovable, and it puts it into my Kanban board. And I'm at the point where all I need to do is have it execute in Lovable as I'm walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer your question, speed from idea to actually live.
Yeah.
I think it can happen in 5 minutes.
Here's what I find so interesting about that, because a lot of people want to use AI and they just say, do this task, and they don't give it any of the context, and they just get something generic that they don't say, oh, AI isn't ready for any of this stuff yet. But I found if you have a rules-based process and a repeatable way to input into that process, and it's automated, you're only one step away from an AI agent doing the whole thing for you from the first prompt to get it there. But people don't want to do the stuff in the middle of figure out what are the rules here, and then like, how do I automate? What tools need to be tied together in some type of automated process so the agent can come in on top of that too?
That's right.
So your whole process right now, you can easily add an agent on top of that size idea, and it happens before you even get back to the house.
I'm using AI to automate AI.
Yes.
Right. I mean, literally to your point, the context is the most important thing I've learned is it has to know bigger context. Now it's impressively now because, when I've used ChatGPT for 18 months, 24 months straight. So it has pretty good context of who I am and what I do and what I'm working on.
Yeah.
And so it uses that context to build and answer my questions.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is if you use AI to build out enough information, like deep research, I deep research ideas all the time. I never look at it. I deep research ideas all the time to give chat context. And then I build that simple prompt, to your point, with all of that context on top of it. It's an iterative process, but you're right. You're automating AI with AI.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, talking to ChatGPT changed my life.
Yeah.
And I'm a walker too. So in the mornings, every morning I get up at 5:30, I either go outside or I just pace the house and I'll walk until the girls wake up. And it used to be, I'd realize, oh my God, I get so many ideas when I'm on the move.
Yeah.
Like walk, there's nothing better than like getting out there and moving.
You're
it's
moving.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Then I started typing to ChatGPT as I was walking.
Yep.
And I would have these great, like I go on a 40-minute walk and I would have these phenomenal conversations. Of course, I'm like head down on my phone the whole time doing it. And then one day someone said to me, you should be talking to ChatGPT. Yep. I'm like, well, I don't like voice mode because voice mode, it doesn't like give you the full, it's just like a halfway conversation. No, not voice mode. Hit the microphone button and talk to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Talk different, up to 10 minutes at a time, but then you can stop and start again. I did a 30-minute prompt this morning to ChatGPT, giving it all the context of the issue that I was trying to work through and all the different sides of it. And it literally changed my life because now I go on these walks. There's never a time that 10 minutes in, I don't have an idea and I'm already talking to someone who has all the information, the entire internet at its disposal.
100%.
And we can chat about it and you can challenge the ideas.
Whole new world.
And it's unbelievable. But if I wasn't giving it that full 30 minutes of context, some issues, it needs to know a whole lot more. I would say for most issues, to get really good advice and get really good help, it has to have that context.
It does.
So like you figure that piece out, you're at the point now where you can go on a walk and literally create a website, create an app while you're walking. But you didn't stop there. You have a book, you have a record label. Which one of those do we dig into first?
Listen, the last 30 days have been, like I said, prolific, So I had this idea. I'm walking on one Friday morning. It was not even a month ago. I had this idea of, you remember things over your careers, right? I say careers because I'm realizing I'm reinventing myself every day.
I like that.
And something a CEO said many years ago, we promote what we tolerate. And I use that line every now and then when it's appropriate because it means something meaningful in business. And you're the average of the 5 you hang out with the most. Of course, we use that with our kids a lot, right? Pick your peers, right? That kind of a thing. And I was just thinking, I go, wouldn't it be great if I had a book that it was like a supplement book that allowed people to take some of the knowledge that I felt was relevant to me over the years, but it wasn't like a traditional book. It was just more of a, here's a saying, and then you have 3 questions to ask yourself. And again, I had the idea, went into ChatGPT on the back from the walk because I wasn't that automated at that point. Went to ChatGPT and said, I want to write a book that does A, B, and C. And I just developed a manuscript with ChatGPT. And I said, here's the format I want. And I want it to offend 50% of the readers immediately when they read the quote. Not like in a bad way, but in an introspective way. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting doing my thing and I have like this full manuscript. I'm sitting up in Bryan Head, just snowboarded, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to like make this reality. There's a difference between a manuscript and actually publishing it.
Yeah.
ChatGPT. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? How do I do that? 4 hours later of effort, I have a Kindle version of a book called the Comfort Trap and how you're all comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And then I start to this is where the danger is. You refine your idea.
Yeah.
I don't like the title. I don't like this. I'm going to do the paperback. So I rebrand the whole thing to Fierce Introspection. And that fit better because it really was about how do you introspect how do you look in the mirror? And so, between 10 hours of effort from idea to there's a link on Amazon for Kindle, paperback, and hardcover, 10 hours of effort. It's there.
Yeah.
That right there.
For a book.
Limitless moment. And of course, my kids are asking me and people ask me, did you write it or did ChatGPT write it? I said, it was a co-effort. I mean, I had ideas
Yeah.
and I literally went in and changed words and changed tone. And I didn't think about grammar. I didn't think about, was it set up correctly? I spent more time messing around with graphics and layout than I did
Sure.
content because I felt like it knows ChatGPT knows who I am and how I talk. And so the tone and the verbiage and the output was exactly how I would have wrote most of it anyway.
Yeah.
I tweaked, but yeah, so that was number one.
Well, one of the big buzzwords right now is AI slop.
Yeah,
Everyone's talking about, oh, I don't
totally.
want your AI slop.
Totally.
We need to stop AI slop in the company. But I think AI slop comes from a lack of context.
Yeah.
A lack of it understanding how you speak and the thoughts, and a lack of understanding what you put into it and how much effort and time. Like most people are sitting there typing and giving it one prompt and
Yeah.
then saying, write me a book about executive leadership. That's not what you did.
No.
You know?
No, not at all. And AI slop is real. I see it every day in my organization.
Yeah.
I see it every day with other emails that come to me. And AI slop was a word I used or learned, I don't know, 2 weeks ago from one of our Vistage articles. And I started using it internally because it is, you can tell AI slop.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, this book is not AI slop. It feels like it was really written appropriately by me.
But the idea to execution in a day, to go from having an idea to having a book that's published. You can literally go buy it on Amazon right now.
It's sick.
On Kindle. It's such an amazing opportunity. Now, 99% of people still won't do anything with that, knowing that it's there. But for those who do know it's there, imagine the environment we're going into now where it's like anybody can publish a book.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now that anyone can do it, how do you stick out doing it? Part of our previous conversation, thinking about your content, one interesting thing that might be great for you would be taking each one of those quotes and sitting down in a conversation just like this and you digging into each one of those quotes. And each one is a reel, is a reel. You got 55 of those in there, and that's part of piece of your content. Those are evergreen that live forever that you can post and repost and repost.
Agreed.
And it promotes the book too.
100%. And this is one of the reasons I love Lovable, going back to your question on Lovable. So I went to Lovable after I realized that I wanted to call this thing Fierce Introspection. And I wanted to build, again, I'm all about how can I do what I think? It's all about the frontier exploration. And so in my head, I'm saying, I want a community around this. Is that even possible? So I upload the manuscript to Lovable and I said, this book just went live. I want you to build a community around it and a website for people to buy the book and, work with each other.
Yeah.
When you go to fierceintrospection.com, it did it all.
Really? The community and everything.
It built a daily, to your point on daily, it built a daily prompts. It built a quiz to talk to the person who come to the website and figure out where they are in their introspection process to reflect on it. Gave links to the book, that easy stuff. It created a whole, what felt like a premium community with a single prompt.
Yeah.
And of course I refined it over the last several weeks just to get more personalized with it. But you're right. So to your point about what stops people, what stopped me for the last 18 months was, everyone's doing it. Then I'm listening to a podcast. I think it was Chris Corner or one of these up and comers that are talking about, just do it. I'm a big Maverick Top Gun fan right now. It's all about don't think, do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the quote I heard in this latest podcast a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago was, yeah, the tech's all there, but literally 2% of the people are doing it. And the people who are talking and doing this stuff are 2%. And so I asked myself, is that true? So I fact checked that with ChatGPT. I'm like, how many people are in the United States? How many people are doing this? How many people are doing that? And it got down to like, no one is doing any of this.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the 5%, then 95% aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do it in the future, but I also think it's, you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't get up and do stuff like you're doing here because you have to. You do it because you want to.
Yeah. If you have that desire, that's burning inside you to want to go and build something new or lean into the new stuff that's happening, it's wild to think about as two people who are leaning into the new stuff to think, man, 95% of people don't have an interest in this, but they're still worried about it. They have anxiety about their job going away, but they don't want to go and start messing around with AI and learn something new.
Yeah. Well, that's because I agree. And the aha moment I had 18 months ago when I was processing this topic as you're talking with ChatGPT was, okay, based on my background, I understand a lot what's happening here. Do I have an edge? Do I have a competitive edge? And how long will that competitive edge last?
Hmm.
Because if anyone can go build an app, but can they market it? Can they make it trustworthy? Can they sell it? Can they get people to get the followers for it and the demand for it?
Yeah.
You know, I've been fortunate where I've worked in a lot of different roles in IT to understand marketing and understand sales and understand the people and operations and fulfillment side of things. And so I felt 18 months ago, based on what I thought I knew then, that I probably had an 18-month competitive advantage window.
Hmm.
Now I probably have a 1-year competitive advantage
I
window.
think you have a longer one because you have a programming background.
Possibly, but the programming backlog, I mean, literally 2 nights ago, 20 minutes of prompts, wrote 20,000 lines of code.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think it's the programming background that's the edge. I think it's the how does it fit into what you're trying to accomplish edge. How do you get it to do, how do you get it to deliver value?
Yeah.
That's probably the edge because of operations.
Well, here's where I'll push back on that. Because right now, anyone can take one prompt in Codex or Claude Code,
Yep.
Lovable, and turn it into an application. So that's possible for the masses. What I'm finding is that the applications that I made 6 months ago, 12 months ago, when I go back to that thread and I want to make updates or changes to it, and it breaks when I'm trying to make those updates because I'm not a coder. I'm not technical. My next recourse is to go back into ChatGPT and say, it's not working. Here's the code. Like, go figure it out. Sometimes the change is such a small thing that someone who understands code or understands the structure of code, they can fix it very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think about the software companies that exist today that have built infrastructure for 20 years and
Totally.
why they're not as susceptible to the threat of AI. It's because they can deliver that to enterprise at scale because their code's not going to break. And I think right now the biggest challenge to AI code is that when you try to scale it or go enterprise with it, it's going to break, especially when you add in security protocols. And there's a period of time, I think it's going to be 3 to 5 years, where those who do have the coding background have an advantage to both refine the code, update the code, and then actually get it to be scalable and make clean, efficient code. Whereas the average person who's vibe coding, the number of people who are vibe coding and then their product breaks and they don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to hire a tech team to come in and figure out where is this broken and it's all AI.
Yeah.
Of course, there are companies like Microsoft that say 50% of our code is all done by AI. Well, that's great because you have the team and the infrastructure to still deliver that at scale. There's a lot of human code in there too. And they also have, here's all of our code. Now use the same efficiency to do this. Where the average person is like, just write me the damn program, you know?
Totally.
So I think you do have much more of an advantage as a programming background to be able to go much further than the average person. And that might be more of an edge than you think.
I appreciate that pushback because that's the exact similar pushback that was given to me by my buddy John, the consultant I was telling you about, who wrote the virtual assistant just yesterday when he was challenging me on, but Dave, can these products really be enterprise quality? And here's what I would say to your point, because I'm asking Lovable to take context and store in its own memory, like the larger picture and the product set and the vision, and I'm building that traditional infrastructure around the vibe coding, I would agree with what you're saying as far as my approach to it is different.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. I do think from an enterprise perspective, as fast as this tech is going, I was thinking about John pushing back on me yesterday. Now you're pushing back on me similarly and with the similar enterprise piece. As fast as this tech's rolling, if Lovable is going to continue to lead what they're leading and or another product that competes with Lovable that I'm not even sure exists, I'm sure it does, there'll be an enterprise version in 12 months.
Yeah.
Because when I was coding with ChatGPT or prompting with ChatGPT to code with Lovable or prompt with Lovable, I don't code anymore, right? It actually said you can get to a certain point with Lovable for it won't be enterprise viable. At that point, you're going to have to shift to a different type of back end. And I actually said to myself in real time, Lovable will figure that out. They don't want to lose that business.
Yeah. Yeah. I
In
bet they
12 months, they'll
will.
get there.
I bet
They'll
they
have a
will.
lovable enterprise or whatever fill in the blank enterprise. And instead of charging, $29 a month for the world, it'll be, $99 a month for the world. And they'll scale it to Amazon Web Services, AWS, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Here's a question I have for you. It's kind of on topic here and maybe a little bit off. I think that's okay. What are the limitations of AI coding, AI software? I think about financial services,
Mhm.
the amount of security required for that, to move money, cryptocurrency. The largest buyer of software in the world, I imagine, is the US government. And they're really slow to catch up on technology. Is there a world where it's still okay to go to college for coding right now and pay $200,000 for a degree because, well, I'm going to work for the government, so I'm safe.
I think there's a world of going to college when it comes to cybersecurity, whether it's college or the degrees that are out there or the training that's out there, because it's not the coding that I'm worried about. It's the security around and the access of
Hmm.
that. You still need the humans with the coders, I think, to develop the cyber defenses, security protocols, evolve those, whatever it might be, because you need the pace car of the good guys to keep up with the bad guys. So all day long, I think about this because our kids are 20 years old and they're halfway through their business degrees,
Yeah.
right? And my older son decided not to do a business degree. He decided to do something that was more hands-on in rad tech. Good for him. The second one, he's facing that very question based on, where I think he thinks the world is and what's going to be out there. So
Yeah.
I still think it's more about the security and implementation and delivering value, change management end with people. Where the tech meets the people, we still need people, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But building the products, again, I'm early on in this based on what I'm seeing in the last, 6 months and especially in the last 30 days. I have no doubt, based on the pace of change that I've personally seen in 18 months, coders, traditional coders like I was, I think business directors will direct coding.
Hmm.
I have a vision. I have a product idea. Here's what it's going to be. You might have coders for, call it migration of traditional software into the new world of AI enablement, which is how I'm starting to think about my day job.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
traditional infrastructure. How do I migrate it to this new world so that I can make change on demand? That's my next thing to figure out.
I did a podcast yesterday talking about side hustles and how everyone should have one. To your point right now, talking about coders, let's say that it's a little bit longer than you think. Maybe it's 2 years, 3 years before they're not needed. Man, every coder that doesn't have a side hustle today is an idiot. They should be building something outside of their day job. It's one of those only tools where there's no one that has a non-compete on you using your coding ability
Yeah.
to do something outside of your business. Everywhere else, professional services, you got a non-compete saying you can't do this thing we taught you how to do. On the coding side, it's like, hey, you could, work for PetSmart in the IT department one day and then go build some tool that makes websites the next day, and you're able to do that. But not having a side hustle where you're in control of your own life and your own destiny, should the AI get really good, but you could be deploying that for yourself. That seems like people are not giving AI credit for what it truly is right now, especially people that work in technology. I don't see enough of them doing something outside the workplace.
Yeah,
They
and if
hope that their job is safe.
And if you're saying traditional coders, right? I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they need to potentially look at it through the lens of maybe they're looking at the vibe coders saying you're not really coding.
Yeah.
I think there's going to have to be that aha moment of in my own experience, I keep going back to how do I get back to this? How do I get back to this? How do I go back to the front? How do I create the best AI app up here that's going to enable me in all these downstream things I'm doing?
Yeah.
I think a traditional coder is going to have to figure out, no different than the normal life cycle that I had to figure out. At some point, I figured out while I still love coding, or I loved coding when I was doing it, I wanted to lead coders. I wanted to coordinate coders. And that was something I had to naturally feel good about 4 or 5 years into my natural career. And then I had to figure out I wanted to manage teams of people leading teams of coders, right? But I had 10 years to figure that out.
Hmm.
In today's world, 10 years is like a year.
Yeah, it is.
And so these coders, to your point, they got to figure out, do I want to be a coder and know it's going to be extinct potentially? Or do I want to be a business director of vibe coders or of coding agents? I mean, literally, that's sort of the seat I sit in right now. When I'm doing my vibe coding, I got 3 monitors in front of me. This one over here is doing one project, which is my Snipe Scout project, SaaS. This one over here is doing the Limitless Boomer website and improving some of the backend tools that I'm working on for email triage. And then this one over here is doing my music or doing the Fail Fast app that I created to capture ideas. So I'm literally going from 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm finding the bottleneck, ironically, isn't me anymore. My ideas are free flowing. I don't know where they're coming from, by the way, but the amount of ideas that are coming from, I can't capture and execute on them fast enough.
Yeah.
So I'm just literally putting them into these different prompts and 4 different projects in a row, time slicing my time. And the lovable's working and the chat's working and the lovable's working. And I'm iteratively developing 4 or 5 businesses.
Yeah.
I think if coders can start to step back and get to that business director piece, that's where that aha moment will come in for them.